Hey guys, this is Aaron with iBoard Repair. Today I'm working on an iPhone 12 Pro. It was brought to me by a customer, already opened up and all the parts have been harvested, but he wanted to see if he can fix this motherboard. So let's take a look at it. It's doing something that I'm pretty familiar with, and it can be a couple of different things, so we'll go over what those are. The first thing I want to show you is what it's doing on my DC power supply up here when I connect the probes to the battery connector. So you can take a look at that. I'm going to connect my probes to the battery connector here, and then I'm going to press the power button. And as you can see, it doesn't do anything. So that can be a few things. That can be a short on a power rail. It could be missing coil. Specifically, I see VDD boost. When that's missing, I'll see like no amp draw. So let's go ahead and split this board and open it up and see what's going on with it. I did the very basic diagnosis so far, and I guess I'll show you that first. So the guy wasn't a motherboard technician, so he didn't work on the motherboard. I did just a very little bit. I pulled this shield off so I could check some of these power rails. I noticed that this power rail over here was actually short. And I kind of thought that was just going to be the problem, but it turns out it's not. It has further problems beyond that. But this capacitor was short, so I removed that, and that cleared the line. That's a 1-volt line. Goes to the PMIC and some other components on the inside of the board. Not really sure exactly what it does. But once I removed that, the short was gone, and it was still doing the exact same thing, which is a 0 amp draw on my DC power supply up here. So the only thing I did after that was I measured pretty much every one of these power rails around the PMIC, and none of them seem short. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to split this board, and we'll take a look at the inside of it. So to split this, I'll just put it onto my hot plate I have here. And once it's ready to go, we will pull it apart. The iPhone 12 Pro has very, it's high melt solder. So, I mean, it's not the highest melt solder on here, but it's higher than what would normally be seen in older iPhone models. So it's a little bit more difficult to split. It takes a little bit longer. So I'm not going to have you sit here and wait and watch with me. I will pause the video and I'll split it when it's ready. It's going to take about, I don't know, like 6 to 8 minutes to heat up to the necessary temperature that I'll allow it to split. So I set the temperature, I set mine to like 220 to 235 kind of range, and it takes about that amount of time. So I'll be back once that time has passed. So it's been like 4.5 minutes. It's smoking now after I put on some flux, so it's going to be ready to pull soon. It's probably not quite yet, but let's just see. Yeah, still not giving me any give yet. I suspect it will be a couple more minutes. Okay, let's see if it's ready or not. Came right up. Let's take a look at it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to want to look at is whether or not the CPU is cracked, because the 12 series and 13 series and even 11, they all like to crack the CPU. And if it's cracked, there's no point in continuing to work on this. I don't see a crack yet, so that's good. Yeah, it looks okay to me. I'm not seeing anything that's jumping out at me. Okay, I'll just clean off all this flux and the rest of this thermal paste. I was pausing it while I was cleaning it and just brushing it with the alcohol. The VCC boost, VDD boost, I should say, coil fell off. So when that coil is bad, is one of the times when I see the 0 amp draw. So that's a good sign to see, because this right here could be the whole problem. So that's great. Usually the coil is still okay if you just apply new solder paste to it, so I'm going to keep that coil. I'll go ahead and finish cleaning this because I didn't even finish brushing it all the way before that fell off. And I'll attach that coil back and I'll see if that's all the problem is. I also, like I said earlier, I had a short right here. I just cleared that off camera. So I had two problems. I had a short on this 1 volt line that feeds some of these chips back here. And then it also looks like it had a bad VDD boost coil. This coil always falls off. It's very, very common for this coil to fall off. I'm not quite sure why that one specifically falls off when a lot of these other coils are fine. But I'll finish cleaning this and solder that back on, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it's actually the next day. It was getting kind of late yesterday, so I just went ahead and cleaned up these boards, and we'll finish it up today. So basically where I'm at now, I will go ahead and replace this coil. And once I replace the coil, it should give me an amperage draw on my DC power supply. Let's go ahead and make sure I'm still getting the same 0 amperage draw, just so you can see that. So once again, I'll put the probes to my battery connector, and then I'll short the power button lines to prompt to boot. Still nothing, which is exactly what I expected because that coil's missing. So let's put the coil back, and it should give me an amperage draw. So the iPhone 12 is a little bit weird, and sometimes it doesn't like to prompt to boot from that power button lines. So there is some possibility it won't give me an amperage draw even once I fix this, but once I try to prompt it with the charge port, it should fix it. It may just work normally though, I guess we'll just see. So let's just fix these lines first. I will go ahead and remove the old bottom part of this coil. Sometimes it doesn't want to come off. A lot of times it doesn't want to come off. Well, there we go. I think I'll just try to find a new coil after all. I know I have a boost coil under here, so I'll just take it from here. I think I do. Let's double check. Yeah, that coil should work. My hands are a little shaky today. I just had a Red Bull, but just work with it. Just work with it either way. So that should be all it needs. We'll try to prompt it to boot again and see if it will take. So do we get a prompt this time? There we go. It's prompting to boot. Looks normal. I'll get a battery screen and a charge port just to double check that, because I'm going to have to reball this next, which is not going to be very fun. And I want to make sure everything's good and proper first. Okay, I have the parts. Let's plug it in and make sure it turns on all the way before I do anything else. This is a 12 Pro And I know some models, I think the 12 Pro Max will give like a temperature sensor warning when it's missing the bottom board, but I think the 12 is okay, and I don't think it gives that warning. But I guess we can see now. The 12 and the 12 Pro are very, very similar looking. The only way I can tell the difference is one of them has an extra camera connector. Cool, there's an Apple logo. Just make sure it boots up all the way. And it will go dim without a proximity sensor plugged in, but it is booted up. I don't know the passcode on this one. Doesn't really matter. So that's good. I will unplug it, and now we're gonna have to reball this. So I guess I can show that process too. I really don't like reballing sandwich boards, so it's gonna suck, but we'll do it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to remove all of the old solder on both the top and bottom boards. I'm going to have to turn on my fume extractor for this one, so it will be a little bit loud. There's not much solder on this top board, but I'm still going to remove what I can. Maybe I'll need a little more heat than this. Doesn't seem to want to melt. Okay, this solder is terrible, so I'm going to reflow it with better solder first. Yeah, I should have done that to begin with. Yeah, so that was way easier once I reflowed it with the right solder. So I definitely should have done that to begin with. I haven't reballed very many 12s at all because I mainly do data recovery, but I do some motherboard repair. And you know, older models, the solder on these sandwich boards weren't so high melt temperature. They're much lower melt. So I'll just clean off all the flux now, and I'll do the same to the bottom board. Of course, this time on the bottom board, I'll reflow it first with the lower melt solder. Okay, got the other one, the bottom half in my platform, and I'll do the same thing. You have to be a lot more careful with the top half because the CPU is right there and you don't want to overheat it. So I expect to be a lot easier with this bottom half. And I'm going to reflow it with the lower melt solder, which helped a lot the first time. Okay, that looks fine. I'll just clean it up and then I'll start the reball. Okay, so it's clean enough and I'll go ahead and start the reball. So I like to leave my mistakes in here just because I like to show everything real and how it's actually happening. when something's going wrong, you just need to adjust and see what you can do to make it right. So I like to show that process. When I'm just referring to like not putting the solder paste, reflowing it with a lower melt solder paste is all I'm really referring to. So let's try this. It shouldn't be too hard. I like the shape of this. There's no like big old heat sink in the way or anything. I think it was on the 12 mini or one of these models. Maybe it was on an 11 or even something like that. The SIM card tray really sucks up a lot of the heat and it makes it a little bit hard to reball properly. So let's see if we can get this going okay. My paste might not be dry enough. Try to dry just a little more. My paste is a little bit wet, but I think it will work okay still. So I'm just going to move forward with it. Okay, that looks okay to me. Let's see how it goes when I heat it up. I try to heat it up very slowly. I feel like this part is lifting the most, so I'm going to start right here. I'll most likely fast forward past this as well because it will take a while because I do heat pretty slowly. Okay, let's see how it looks, if it's any good or not. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, again, not so bad. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna apply some flux and reflow one more time. And then I'm gonna see if I can even out the balls a little bit, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, all I did was clean it, and I'm actually kind of inclined to believe that it's gonna be good enough as it is. See if I can see if most of these are okay. I do see a couple uneven, like that one, but that's just because it didn't take the whole pad. A couple of them are big. Hello, how can I help you? Okay, because some of them were uneven, I'm just gonna reflow it to get the most even balls, and then I'm gonna flatten the ones that stick out the most, and I'll show you how I do that. So this should get all of the balls to take to the pads as best they can. I believe this one's just ground, so it doesn't really matter. It's just, I don't like how it's not taking shape. I'll double check to just make sure that one's just ground. Yeah, that's just ground, so that's fine. Okay, I'm going to clean it one more time, and then I'm going to flatten the balls to even levels. Okay, I have a very simple method for flattening the balls, and that's just put it face down on a flat surface on a piece of paper, and just grind it back and forth. And this is going to flatten the most, the balls that stick out the most. I don't want to grind it too much because I don't have much solder on this one. I just want to get the ones that are sticking out too much to be the same size. Like for example, this one right here is flat, some of these are flat, and some of them are kind of untouched. So that tells me these ones over here were a little bit bigger than these ones over here, and by flattening it I can get everything to the same level. It really looks like it's just this little side over here. I'll do it a little bit more. Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. I think that's going to be good enough. So I'll go ahead and put the top board on now, put this thing together. And got my heating platform out. I'll add more flux. I try not to put too much because I don't want like too much in between the boards, just as much as I need. Okay, nice little layer. Actually don't need this part that's holding it down. It's not going to do anything for me. I'll just line it up. You don't really need to see what I'm looking at in the scope. I'm just going to kind of line it up as best as I can. There are like little brackets that line it up for you too, but it's not perfect. That's not too bad. I think it should be fine. So, yep, heat it up now and let it pull together. I'll keep the camera on, but this will take a little bit of time, so I'll probably fast forward this process too while we're waiting. You know, there's not much for you to see, so I'll just pause the video. Okay, so it's all finished up. Let's take a look at it. The most extreme parts down there do look connected, so that's good. Looks good. It's a little spacious, but everything looks connected still. Kind of hard to see this side. Looks like this top corner just needs just a little bit more. Okay, it looks finished up, I believe. Let's take a look. Doesn't look too bad. You guys see that? Yeah. I guess it's kind of hard for you to tell. But yeah, everything looks connected to me. So I'll just go ahead and plug it in and make sure it still boots up. So I already know that he took most of the parts from this, so I can't fully test everything. But I'll just make sure it boots. Besides that, I'm pretty confident that it was reballed okay. And yeah, it's booting. So I'll just make sure it gets to full boot. Again, I'm going to have a dim screen, so I won't be able to see much. That's because I don't have the proximity sensor for this one. But I can see it fully booting. So I'm going to say that's good enough. So that was my process for diagnosing this phone and then reballing the board. Obviously, I probably need a little bit more practice when it comes to reballing these boards. That was a little bit more of a struggle than I would have liked it to be. In general, I don't really need to do that for data recovery, which is the majority of my work, because there's jigs in place that connect these two boards together for me. But this customer wants to use this phone and they just want it repaired, so this would be the process for reballing it and figuring out the problem. And that's it. So thanks for watching my video, and I hope you stop by again. Bye.